Welcome to Wise Guys.
Today's topic, post-Trump special elections.
So I picked a Huffington Post article on the special elections that have occurred since the Trump election. There's been about 15 of them. And I would say Huffington Post's general gist was, hey, these are elections that are seeing a Democratic backlash.
Right, like a large increase in the population is thinking about putting more Democrats into office, and it's directly linked to President Trump and his performance, which is an interesting claim. Yeah.
Tenuous.
This article is called How Democrats Are Faring in First Tests of the Trump Backlash, and it was the #1 article on Huffington Post when we looked earlier today. That is meaningful for a few reasons. First, we're going to say it right now, everyone's thinking it, Huffington Post, very liberal media organization. You can expect pro-Democrat and pro-liberal arguments to be front and center there, so that wasn't surprising. What is surprising, though, is that the population that reads it seems very willing to accept claims about how Democrats are really responding to Trump and are getting more involved. And the way they did that was they showed us all 15 of these special elections in different charts. They basically showed how this district did, for example, Hartford, Connecticut, did when it was Trump.
General election versus the special election.
Right. For example, for Connecticut State Senate District 2, where the special election date was February 28th, 2017, this is in Hartford, Connecticut, and in the general election, President Trump had 14% of the general vote from that district, and Hillary Clinton had 83%. Now, in this special election, the Democratic candidate had 73% of the vote, and the Republican candidate had 24% of the vote.
Which is a Republican increase. But one thing I would like to make clear, though, is that, for a lot of these special election seats, they were in more liberal areas, and you do see about a 10% bump in the Democrat candidate's performance in a few of these. But there's some of these problematic data points. One of them is what Ash just talked about, which is for Republicans that aren't Trump, they are seeing an increase in performance. And that's something that I would worry about if I was, DNC chair right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because Hartford is definitely the outlier in the 15 special elections that are noted. In most of them, it shows the Democrat getting a solid boost in overall popularity. But what it doesn't show, and
they already have,
most likely, absolutely true. And also what it doesn't show is how the Republican and Democratic candidates are actually placing themselves relative to Trump. And I think that's going to be crucial. In a place like Hartford, Connecticut, which is, the state capital, it's definitely an area that, while generally liberal, is still more diverse than a lot of other urban areas. It's very possible, if not likely, that this Republican candidate was making sure to identify differences between himself and President Trump, while also able to tap into some good things that President Trump might be doing, right? And that's the thing, is that these types of articles that the Huffington Post is putting out together, Wes and I thought it was just really interesting because it gives you facts. That's true. It is telling you percentages.
But I would say the headline, and lead off, the first paragraph.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say is the whole picture.
No, it's not giving you the whole picture by any means. It's more giving you what someone who wants to hear the Democrats are really out there and really capturing this anti-Trump movement, and they're making good on the protests that happened what feels like forever ago, but it was just 2 months ago now. And, that's not necessarily the case. Democrats are definitely mobilizing. There are definitely increases in people signing up to run for office across the board, usually as a Democrat, throughout the country. Those statistics are there. But we are not seeing what the changes are in terms of actual candidates' platforms.
We're not seeing the backlash.
No, exactly. It's not a backlash.
And I'd be worried because, you know what? Trump's not up for election for another 4 years.
No, it's a while.
You're running against other Republicans.
Absolutely. Who have the ability to distance themselves as necessary, right? We remember during the Tea Party movement in 2014, the majority of Democrats that got elected did so by distancing themselves from President Obama and healthcare and the PPACA. They did the Democrats did.
Right.
Yeah, they did so by being like
Democrats that got elected.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The Tea Party members didn't need to say a lot, right? They ran on the Tea Party, but the Democrats are able to say, look, the president is in the House right now, and is in the White House, and he's doing several good things, but here's where we disagree. And they captured that. And there's no reason Republicans can't do the same in 2018, especially when the majority of seats that are up for grabs are still Democrats. That's critical to remember.
Right, as the last thing, Ash and I have talked about this before. The Democrats got to come up with something that's not just anti-Trump.
Right.
They have to come up with their own way forward, then their own identity. And then you'll start seeing that situation turn around. But in my personal opinion, I think until they get that mojo, and if they're too focused on Trump, they're not going to get a whole lot of traction outside the areas that they already represent.
Absolutely. I mean, one last thing on the Huffington Post article is that whatever said and done, it does do a good job of shining a spotlight on special elections.
Right.
We haven't seen a lot of that coverage elsewhere. Between April 10th, 2017 and November 2017, there will be special elections for 32 more state legislator seats, 5 U.S. House seats, and 1 U.S. Senate seat. These are going to be things to watch if you want to keep an eye on how exactly Democrats and Republicans are getting enthusiasm for their different party bases in lieu of a Trump White House. As always, it's been The Wise Guys. Thanks for watching, and leave us a question, comment, or concern via Twitter or email.